Imagine a world where a king's word was absolute law, where the ruler's decisions could mean life or death for anyone under his power. But in 1215, something remarkable happened that changed that forever. The Magna Carta was signed, setting the foundation for modern democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. How did a group of rebellious barons force one of the most powerful kings in history to agree to their demands? Let's explore the dramatic events behind the signing of the Magna Carta and its lasting impact on the world. The reign of King John. To understand why the Magna Carta was created, we have to first look at the reign of King John of England. John came to the throne in 1199 after the death of his brother, Richard the Lionheart. But King John's rule was far from popular. His heavy taxation, constant military campaigns, and failed attempts to regain lands in France angered both the nobility and the church. John was also seen as a weak leader. His failed wars, especially the loss of Normandy, left the English barons frustrated. But his mismanagement wasn't limited to military failures. His constant demands for money to fund his campaigns led to widespread resentment. It wasn't long before these tensions would reach a boiling point. The meeting at Runnymede. On June 15, 1215, a meeting was held at Runnymede, a meadow near the River Thames. It was here that King John met with the rebel barons to negotiate peace. After intense discussions, John agreed to their demands, and a historic document was created, the Magna Carta, also known as the Great Charter. The Magna Carta contained 63 clauses, each designed to limit the power of the king and protect the rights of the nobility. But its significance went far beyond that. For the first time, the principle that no one, not even the king, was above the law was written into a formal document. Key provisions of the Magna Carta. The Magna Carta was groundbreaking for its time. It included several key provisions that would later influence legal systems worldwide. Protection from arbitrary imprisonment, one of the most famous clauses, no free man shall be seized or imprisoned except by the lawful judgment of his equals, or by the law of the land, became the foundation for the right to a fair trial. Taxation with representation. The Magna Carta required the king to seek the consent of his council of barons before imposing new taxes. This principle would later evolve into the idea of no taxation without representation. Church rights. The charter also addressed the rights of the church, ensuring its freedom from royal interference. Limits on royal authority. The Magna Carta placed restrictions on royal officials, preventing them from seizing property without proper compensation or due process. These clauses were revolutionary for their time, but it's important to note that the Magna Carta primarily protected the rights of the nobility, not the common people. However, its legacy would inspire broader protections for all citizens in the centuries to come. The immediate aftermath. While the Magna Carta was a groundbreaking document, its initial impact was short-lived. King John had no intention of fully honoring the agreement, and within months, he appealed to Pope Innocent III to have the charter annulled. The Pope agreed, declaring the Magna Carta shameful and demeaning. Civil war soon broke out between the king and the rebel barons. John's sudden death in 1216 brought an unexpected twist. His 9-year-old son, Henry I was crowned king, and the regents governing on his behalf reissued a revised version of the Magna Carta to restore peace and order. Over the next several decades, the document was reissued multiple times, each time with small adjustments, but its core principles endured. The legacy of the Magna Carta. While the Magna Carta was initially intended to address the grievances of a specific group of English barons, its significance grew over time. By the 17th century, it was seen as a symbol of liberty and justice, influencing the English Civil War, and later shaping the development of constitutional law in both England and other parts of the world. In the centuries that followed, the principles enshrined in the Magna Carta would inspire legal systems far beyond England's borders. The idea that the rule of law applies to everyone, including those in power, would serve as the foundation for democratic governments around the world. It influenced the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights and remains a symbol of justice and freedom. The signing of the Magna Carta in 1215 was a turning point in history. It marked the beginning of the end of absolute monarchies in England and planted the seeds for constitutional government and the protection of individual rights.